Hey guys, welcome to another review. I am Mr. P and today I'm going to be doing an RDA. This RDA come to me courtesy of Big G over at the Facebook group, or Grant. Give this to me, said have a little play and do a little review for us. I said okay, sweet. So today the e-cig Onslaught is what we're doing. Very cool, bright orange box for a very cool dripping atomizer. So what I'm going to do is immediately I'm going to chuck it down onto the table and show you it. I want to do that quickly purely because I'm committed myself to doing a complete full rewick for you on this. Now as you know what this is, then know how much of a commitment that is. Those of you who don't, this is a triple coil dripping atomizer. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to chuck it down and do a rewick for you. Before I do, this is going to cost £25 delivered from Big G or Grant over on the Facebook group. So nice little bargain. Obviously guys, it's an Onslaught clone, it's not a legitimate item, but I'll go more into that on the back side of this. So like I say, I'm going to chuck it down now, do a little, I should say little rewick, it's going to be a big one I imagine, and then come back to me. Right guys, quick close up of the Onslaught by e-cig, or whatever it is. Little bit look around the box, a luminous orange, so always good. Yeah, just the box really. Got some relevant markings on the back, branded, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, QR code, all the rest of it. So quickly pop off the box lid. It's quite a nice box, and see what we've got inside. So inside we have got, let's start with this. We have got a little blue screwdriver, some camphor nichrome, and a few spare O-rings in case we need them. And I'm actually going to zoom you in a little bit. And then we have, well, this is what looks like Japanese cotton. If it's not, it's definitely organic cotton. So, getting some cotton with an RDA, that is pretty sweet. Inside we've got the dripper itself, and then we've got a couple of additional AFCs to have a little pick of. Let's get all of those out first of all. Let's get rid of this box because we're not going to use those spares. So let's plonk this there for 1 second. Zoom you back out. First of all, these airflow control rings here and here, they are actually brass and copper. That's actually proper copper. That's not plating. You know, relevant markings on it, but that's not plating. That is a proper copper. And then real brass. So using real materials for the airflow control rings, I like that. Let's have a look at the one that's actually on. Feels like stainless steel to me, but you know, it's looking pretty sweet if you ask me. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Real materials used for your airflow control rings. Let's have a look. Airflow control ring, whilst we're here, you've got 1, 2 and 3 air holes in there. Okay, so triple coil situations developing. Let's go into the top cap. A little bit of a raised here. Again, markings, and an O-ring here holding on your airflow control ring. Go into here, we've got a domed top cap just at the top, standard 510 drip tip adapter in there, and then into the body we have loads of holes. I believe it's 6. So if we go around, I'll actually show you these. That there is one of your triple coil holes. You've got 3 of them, size 1, 2 and 3. Here you've got the smaller one but similar shape there, and on the opposite there is another one. That's your dual coil options. And then around here somewhere you've got one circular hole right there, and that is your single coil options. You can single, dual and trip coil this, which is pretty cool. I'm going to bring you in to look at the deck. So there we go. We've got flathead screws there first of all. So I mean, kind of cool but not at the same time, because I don't find you can get as much purchase with them. You know, they don't seem to purchase as well as Phillips, go down as tight, but equally I don't need a Phillips screwdriver to use them, so you know, that's a good thing. Negative posts there, fairly simple, just a negative post with a hole all the way through, but the centre post you'll see it's kind of hexagonal, and it's got 6 holes in it. See, so that's 1 for each coil to go in and then out again the other side. You've got a decent sized drip wheel in there and a heavy amount of insulation on that positive post in the middle, which is pretty sweet. 2 O-rings holding on your top cap, and going down the bottom. There it is. Serial 2980. You've got a decent bit of insulation there, and what looks like a silver plated contact on the base, and standard 510 connection. So that's pretty sweet. What I'm going to do, I'm going to rewick this on camera, God help me, and I am going to do a triple coil setup for you, so why not. What I've got is 3 pieces of, let's bring you up, 3 pieces of 0.5 Canthal. I'm going low, and what I'm going to do is a standard sort of micro. I think I'll go for 9 or 10, probably 10 wraps, seeing as, you know, you use the dual coils, halving your resistance. Well, this is going to sort of take it down by a third. So if you had 3 1 ohm, you would then end up with sorry, if you had 3 3 ohm, you'd end up with a 1 ohm coil. So just watch out for that. Let's have a look at that there. I believe that was 10 wraps, but to be honest, you kind of lose count when you're flapping away and wrapping a coil at the same time. I will not be held accountable if this goes horribly wrong. In fact, if this does go horribly wrong, you may not even know about it, so I won't show you this. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wraps on that one. So we have 1 coil complete, and now for 2 more. So same thing again, round a 2mm drill bit. I start off by doing 2 additional wraps because it helps me get the bang on centralised, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, oh hello, overlap, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then back them 2 off there. And then with 0.5, I've said it before, all you can really do is grab your bar like that and plier pull it, because it's thick as hell, so you kind of need the pliers. You can't just sort of pull it with your fingertips like you would usually. I mean, you can try, but you can take my word for it, you won't get the results you're after. 2 coils, and then really what I should have done is pre-made 2 of these, but I'm a noob. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So like that, and undo 2. The same thing again. How much of this you're going to see on camera, guys, I really don't know. That deck is quite intricate, and I'm going to need to be able to see it, so I shall do my very best. So there we go, we have 3 coils. Now it's going to be a pain in the arse, I can see it coming, but first of all you're going to want to loosen off these screws, so get your flathead. To be honest with you, these screws are quite loose in there, so you can kind of finger undo and do them up, which may be a good and or bad thing, but we shall find out. So that's what we're dealing with, and this is going to be even more difficult since I'm trying to do it upside down. So 1 through there, and 1 through there. Now I'm not going to worry too much about getting them perfect now. All I'm going to do is get the negative where I want it, about there. I'm going to tighten that negative off because everything else can be adjusted later as. So that will hold the coil in. I'm going to remove the bar so it's not in my way, and I think I won't just remove that negative just yet in case I need it, but that is the plan. So to do that 2 more times, if that happens first time, well then I consider myself a lucky pup, but we shall see what happens. Now again, working upside down is not difficult. It's not difficult. So you can't even speak proper. Put that in there. So your negatives in. See if you can actually see that there. It's very, you know, you can see what we're dealing with here, especially when the positive screw wants to do up on you as well, because it is quite loose fitting. In fact, the resistance of the wire is enough to screw that bugger up, but against all odds we are in for the negative and positive. The same as last time, I'm only really focusing on pulling that negative in, a little bit more than that. I'm going to screw that down. And obviously the more coils you add to this and any other dripper, to be honest, but the more coils you add, the more difficult it gets. So the last one's always the trickiest. So do that. I'm actually going to pull that positive back out a little bit because I can, it's there. So far we've got that and that. And then let's go again. Third time. And like I say, I believe this one's going to be the most difficult, so what actually I'm going to do is just quickly chop one of these legs down because they look a bit too close to the length of each other for what I'll be happy to be fitting in, if you see what I mean. So we'll chop one of them off, like that, put that over there, and I think we will start with the positive. If I'll do that, we're going in the positive first. Like so, that's actually gone straight in, and in with the negative. Jesus. So pull them in again. Because of the thickness of this wire, might not have been the best move I've ever made to use 0.5, but you know, sometimes these things just need to be done. In fact, I thought it was too good to be true. What I've actually done is gone in, and as opposed to going out to one opposite, I've gone out to one just to the side, so we're definitely going to go again. Sorry guys, I'm hunched right over this one now because I want to get it in, and I think that one is now in, and as is that one. So there we go. And that same thing again, concentrate on a negative is what I believe is going to be the easiest method here, because once you've got the negatives in, at least you know your coils can't move. That's what we're dealing with so far. Then what I want to do is actually pinch that out like so. I believe that you're going to want the coil to be sort of like this here, like that. So let's do one, get the other leads out your way as well. Again, this makes things incredibly difficult. Do want to say this is the first time I ever re-wick this bad boy, and I don't think it'll be the last, but so you just got to be careful because that coil there is slightly overhanging, so we're going to have to loosen off this negative right there, push it in a bit, and then tighten that back up like that. A bit more safe now. Have a little look from bird's eye, you know, if you think something needs to be pulled, then pull it in. In fact, I do believe that one there could be doing with being pulled, and so could that one. Okay, now all you can really do is your best to screw this thing down. So just hulk it, because this 0.5 is going to need to be hulked. Hulk that middle down, and hopefully, if the gods are shining on us, we should be able to neaten these coils up like so. Snap off the legs. When I snap off, I'm going to be twisting these off, because I've said it before, whenever I do a dual coil, this is even worse because it's 3, but whenever I do more than one coil, if I find that I cut it, it just doesn't, I get a funky taste. That's definitely more on the positive than it is on the negatives, but you know, better to be safe than sorry. So I'm just going to attempt to wiggle this until it snaps, which with that one doesn't look like it wants to happen. So this is the problem you're going to face, because as you're wiggling these, you could be potentially running your coils, which is not a good thing. So in fact, I want to get a proper screwdriver involved in the situation and see if I can't tighten that positive down to a level that I'd be more comfortable with, because these little screwdrivers are only good for so much. So get this one, there we go, give that a proper turn, and then we'll give it a spin and a twist. There we go. Eventually, persistence is the key. Stick with it, and you know, if you're lucky, you might be okay. Always one. There we go. So just again, pretty coils up, because all of that is going to have disrupted it quite a lot. I don't mind if they're slightly off to an angle, to be honest. It's not something that particularly bothers me, as long as they're all off to an angle. And so it will do. I'm going to attach this to the mod very briefly. I'm going to use the Fortune mod just because we're going low res and it's direct contact, so it gives it the best chance to get as much power as possible. I haven't registered or tested the resistance of this, but from experience I can tell you this is going to be around about 0.15 there or thereabouts. This is where things start to get a little bit interesting, because you've now got to balance 3 coils, so you can get them to heat, but getting them to heat evenly might be a complete pain in the hole. But that is why I do this kind of stuff on camera, because you get to see just how much of a bitch it can be. It's not a case of, you know, let's do it and then cut until we make it look like we've done it first time. Let's show you actually what happens. So, you know, to be honest, whenever I've had dual coil drippers, triple coil, quad coil drippers, and I think they can be a pain in the ass to get to light evenly, they've usually been okay. Doesn't mean this one's going to be though, does it? So it's not bad. I think that this coil here was lagging very slightly. So, well, now they're just completely different. It's like traffic lights, one lights, then the other one lights, and then the other one lights. So we'll go again. This is the thing. All you can do really is just keep adjusting, keep tightening. This is the thing, because that negative, see, they've come loose, not good. Hulk them down, guys. Anyone who says hulking stuff down is not the answer, is talking out their arse. So hulk them down and then see what happens. Because you know, you can't work with, you're trying to do all this if you've got a loose negative or loose positive. What good is that going to do you? Because as soon as you tighten it up, or as soon as something moves, everything's going to change. So I notice a short going on there, so that suggests to me that the positives come undone a bit as well, which of course it has. So don't loosen it off, get them buggers tight. Let's have a little look. That is close enough for me. Now just beware, guys, obviously that is going to be that's going to be ridiculously hot. You're pushing out a big wattage. So you go and bung your cotton in straight away and it's going to burn it. So we'll give it 2 seconds before we do that. Let me just clear some of this crap out of my way, because otherwise I'll lose everything. And then we'll bang some cotton in it. Now I'm going to stick standard cotton in this. I'm not going for Japanese cotton or anything like that, purely because, let's face it, the situation is complicated enough without me making my life more difficult than it already has to be. So I haven't really worked out how I'm going to cotton this yet, but let's just give it a bash. So we're going to go in here, let's give it a little bit of a twist. Sometimes wet in the end will help get it through your coil, like so. And then definitely having some little tweezers or something like that will help. So that's one in, gives it a little pull, that's in. This is going to be the most difficult one, I think, because it's closest to the negative leg of the opposite coil. So get that one there. Tweezers are just, you know, the dog's dick for when you've got big fingers like I have. So give that a pull. Giving it a little cock. And then last one. Alright. There. Or not. See, this is the thing, guys, you've got to be prepared that this is going to be a complete pain in your arse. Like any really sort of dual, quad, triple, whatever builds, they're going to be more work. Don't get me wrong, this is being made increasingly difficult because I'm doing it on camera. Anyone who says that doing this stuff on camera is easy is either never done it or they're talking out of their arse. I don't care what anyone says, no matter who you are. But this shit's more difficult. It just is. So be prepared for that. If you're not if you wouldn't consider yourself capable of an advanced build, then with this, I wouldn't necessarily be recommending it. Now, let's cut some cotton off here. Like so. And I think in fact I'm going to juice this up straight away and then try and stuff it down. Usually I'd stuff it down and then get a bit of e-liquid involved, but with this it's just really not an option. There's not enough room in there to be fanning around with sort of partly primed or not primed cotton. Get it primed and then stick it in. Just make sure you haven't got too much before you start priming it, because otherwise it's not going in, is it? So we've got some juice involved there. In fact, a little bit too much, because I've got some running down the side of the mod. And then good old faithful miniature tiny screwdriver. Just to give that a little turn. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to try and bung this down there. You do want to leave room for coil to breathe if you can, like that. Okay, don't get it all up under, giving all this bloody cotton cloud bollocks, because to be honest with you, I find it doesn't help. In fact, it hinders your coil. You know, so give it room to breathe, otherwise it won't perform as well. And let's face it, if you're triple coiling this, you want clouds, in which case you don't want to be suffocating your coils. So let me bring it down even further. A bit too far, I'd imagine. There you go, that's what we've got. And we've got vapor coming off all of it. Like I say, this is the first time I've actually re-wigged this, so it'll be a bit of time before you come back up to me, because I'm going to vape on it for a while and see what I think. But obviously all you want to do is line up your air holes like so, push your top cap on like that, and then chuck in the drip tip. So guys, back up to me for a little vape. Right guys, welcome back up from the iVogo recoil close-up. In fact, I've just kind of looked at my mod before I get into it too heavily. I want to put a brass ring on, purely because I'm using a brass mod, so it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So let's just pull that airflow control ring off there, chuck that in now, stick the brass one on instead. So as you see from down there guys, not a re-wick for those of you, you know, that aren't necessarily, I'm not saying I'm pro or anything, but those of you that aren't experienced dealing with it. Secondly, 0.13 ohms is what I'm running, according to a dodgy meter, so it could be anything, but that's what my meter says. So you know, this again, this isn't a build for the faint of heart either. But that being said, it is pretty nice. The dual coil and the single coil option that comes as part of this, don't get me wrong, it's great that it's there, and it's great that someone is designing an atomizer who includes that as stock. Obviously credit doesn't go to the client, but you know what I mean. But I'd like to have had the full open air hole option. You know, it's quite tight still, and it's not what I want for a single coil. But don't get me wrong, I look at this thing and I don't think I don't think I want a single coil this. I think that's a challenge. I want to get 6 in there, you know, and that's kind of the way I look at it. It is a silly atomizer designed for that kind of silly build. So for me, that's what it's for. Other than that, to be honest, the re-wick didn't go too badly. I actually find balancing 3 coils easier than I do balancing 2. Them screws in there is what's really going to cause you problems, because they do slacken off a little bit. You've got to hold them down. Now a lot of people go, don't hold stuff down, it'll break it, and so on. So as I said there, in this it kind of needs to be done, because otherwise they're going to slacken off. If you do it too loose like I did, they're just going to undo on you. You need to really tighten them down, make sure they're in properly hard, in order to get a solid connection, because otherwise you can balance them all and then tighten something down and it completely go wrong. So I mean, that's that. In terms of room in the deck, I did say there's not loads of room for cotton. I actually take that back, because looking at it now, I got what I would consider a decent amount of cotton in there, and you know, there's room for more. There is room for more, but I don't want any more. I'm happy with what's there. So I do take that back. It's actually not got a bad amount of room in there. It just looks deceptively small because of all of them posts that are breaking it up. So that's that. I'm gonna have a little vape. I've got to say as well, that's a 50-50 juice. That's not even pure VG. I was tempted to stick a high or max VG juice in it, but I wanted to review this one after, so I decided to stick this one in it. But to be honest with you, it's kicking out clouds like no one's business. It really is. It's definitely a cloud machine. It's also a juice machine. This is going to absolutely tear through your juice. This is a properly low res build, so expect that to be the case if you do copy this build. And another thing to be aware of is it's going to sap your batteries. This juice is 3 milligram, and I'm getting, for me, a medium throat hit off of it. Don't get me wrong, I'm susceptible to throat hit, so most people go it's not that bad, but off of a 3 milligram juice, it definitely chucks it big time. So what I'm going to do is have a little sip of my drink, and I'm going to run straight into a 6-point hit list on this bad boy. So firstly, and primarily looks. Well, it's a complete mixed bag, because you've got stainless steel, and then you've got the option of real copper or brass, or that black sort of stainless steel, I believe, ring. It's been coated. The only thing it's missing is a complete SS ring. So the looks can be tailored depending on what device you're using. So I do like that. Itself, the engraving is done spectacularly well. It really is. Everything about this is done well. The air holes, they line up perfectly. It's all been cut well. There's no burrs or anything. I mean, there's nothing really to be burry on, but you know, you do get flecks of metal after the drill's been through, especially on positive posts that intricate. You'd expect it on a clone, and you don't get it. And I've deviated from looks, but I'm just rambling basically. Looks for me, I'm going to give it a 10. I think it's cool. You can customise it, and I think it's a nice size 22mm dripper. I love them. So looks 10. After looks would be usability. Really, it depends on your skill set. I mean, ultimately, all of it depends on your skill set when it comes to usability, no matter what it is. But this in particular, is it the most usable dripper? No, it bloody ain't. It definitely ain't. Triple coil in a 22mm deck. I mean, I've got a Cerberus clone that I'll do a review of soon, and that's a triple coil. I would say this is easier than the Cerberus clone to build, if I'm honest, but it's not. Sorry, pardon me. It's not a Zenith. It's not a single coil dripper. It's not even a dual coil. It's a triple. So it's more complicated than all of those things. But that being said, you know, you see me wick it. I've vaped it for quite a while now. You know, it's been a couple of hours since I did that, and it was the first time. You know, don't get me wrong. Again, I know I'm around this stuff all the time. So if you're not, it may not go smoothly for that for you, but you won't be on camera, so it might compensate a bit for that. I'm going to give it a 10. I don't think it's hard to use. I think you've just got to make sure that you know what you're doing. And if you do, then it's not going to be... The iGo W3, I think it was, the quad core one, that was 10 times, 20 times harder than this to use. So I'm definitely giving this a 10. there you go. Maintenance of it. Now, it's a 10 straight away maintenance. It always is. Let's be fair. You know, there's very little out there that isn't a 10. All you've got to do is wash it, maintain your coils, maintain your cotton, and so on. So maintaining it is no harder than any other dripper, apart from the fact that you've got to maintain 1 or 2 more coils, depending on what you're used to. Re-wick or re-cotton 1 or 2 more coils, depending on what you're used to. And other than that, you know, it's just keep it clean and keep on top of things. But the maintenance is a 10. It's a fairly easy one. Now, I'll do build quality and price next. Price was 25 quid delivered from Big G or Grant. To be honest with you, 25 quid for a clone dripper. It depends on what you're buying. You know, you can get Zenith clones for a tenner. You can get clones I've seen for over 35 quid. The build quality on this is a 10. It is a spectacular build quality for a clone. It really is. It is solid as hell. It's weighty. Everything feels well made. It's got a decent bit of insulation. The 510's spot on. There's nothing wrong with the threads there. Everything is spot on. In fact, probably one of the best clones I've ever held, with, you know, rivaling EH Pro quality clone. Okay, and you don't get better than that, as far as I'm concerned anyway. So I'm gonna give the build quality a 10. The price, 25 quid. It's not the cheapest, but it's 25 quid. It's not really much money, and for what you're getting, I think you're getting every penny's worth, to be perfectly honest with you. Build quality versus price. Now, if I was holding a genuine, there would be fractional differences in build quality. Of course there would. The materials are more expensive. But I do want to say, on the few sites I could find these available, a genuine, you were looking, one site, I found it for 65 quid. Not too shabby, but they were out of stock. The ones that were in stock, 80 quid, 89.99 for a fucking dripping atomizer. I'm sorry, but no. 89.99 for an RDA? Are you taking the piss? Compare it to that, and this is a bargain. It really is, because I guarantee you now, if I had both in my hand, there wouldn't be 55 quid's worth of difference for me. I can guarantee you that. So it's a 10 for build quality versus price. I think it's a great build. It really is. The presentation box is spot on. You know, all of the parts. It just feels like quality. And for me, that's worth the 25 quid. So there you go. Flavour and vapour. Now, I have toyed with this a little bit. Okay, I did remove a coil. You know, basically I unhooked a coil from its negative and blocked it off. I unhooked the other coil from its negative and blocked it off. So I tried it in dual and I tried it in single. Obviously, you know, the resistance going up each time, and I bought a variable voltage mod into, or variable wattage mod into the equation, 50 watts and so on, to test it. And I found the flavour to be very good, especially on the single coil, which is my preference. But even here now, on this tri-coil that I've put back in, it's... I've tried this juice on a Zenith, I've tried this juice in a Pontus, EH Pro Pontus, I've tried this juice in a K-Fun, and to be honest with you, for flavour, I'll take this as it is over this juice in my K-Fun. So, flavour's getting a 10. It's a great flavour. It really is. It's a lovely taste. Now, if you're running, if you're a 1 ohm kind of person on a single coil and you put three ohm coils in here, I don't know how it's going to perform, to be honest with you. That's not something I would ever do. This for me screams sub-ohm or super sub-ohm. You know, even if you were a 1.5 ohm or a 2 ohm vapor, you put 3 of them coils in it, you're still sub-ohm. It doesn't matter what you do, you're going sub-ohm with 3, as far as I'm concerned. But at that level that I would consider this to be sort of made for, flavour spectacular, really is. Everything I've tried in it, you know, I've tried a couple of different ones, and everything I've tried in it is great. I took the kryptonite out, I've stuck it back in now because I like it, and like I say, I wanted to do a review of it. Vapour, well, what you're going to put in it is the question, isn't it? If you put a single coil in, the vapour is not anywhere near that because the air hole's restricted. The dual coil, it's not bad at all, in fact, and the triple coil, it's you know, a ridiculous amount of vapour. But the potential is there to have the triple coil, so that's what I'm basing it on. In which case, this thing's 1000. It really is. It's got, you know, massive cloud chasing capabilities, and it's more than capable of chasing them clouds. So vapours are 10. But even on a single, still more than my K fun. You know, still getting more vapour than I would out of my K. So nothing to moan about there at all. Now, overall on this bad boy, like I said, I've tried a little bit here and there. I've not spent days and days with it. Tried it here and there, and so far it's the best wacky dripper, if that makes sense. You know, I've had a few that have been, you know, this dripper was designed to be crazy, and it is, but it is a shit bag to live with because of it. Whereas this, I could see, you know, people getting a single coil and putting it in this. I could see you getting jewels and sticking it in this, and I could see when you really want it to be stupid, really going low and blowing huge clouds. It blows big clouds, you know, it's more than capable of doing so. With a 50-50 that was, you know, high VG, you're talking ridiculous levels. The build quality is spectacular. I think the price is very good. I think it looks pretty sweet, to be honest with you. In fact, I think it looks awesome. The overall's only ever going to be a 10. It really is. Like, a lot of drippers for me are 10s because they have quirks, or they have something I like, or they perform really well, or they have great price and they perform well. You know, it's hard for a dripper not to be a 10 in most cases because they're very simple. But this is different, and I like that. But with that, they've been sensible enough to give you the single and the dual coil option. That in itself isn't, you know, an easy thing to do in that top cap. Again, the credit doesn't go to the clone, but it's the clone I'm holding, it's the clone that's provided me that. So the overall is definitely a 10. I would definitely recommend it. For 25 quid, it's a stunning little bit of vape. It really is. And I think, you know, the quality behind it is spectacular. I don't think that I would ever buy a real one. Even trying this clone, I really like this. The money, the cost of that legitimate item is a joke. It really is. And I do want to point out as well, them prices I was giving you earlier was without delivery. The delivery of the one that I found was 65 quid was over a tenner. And the one that cost 90 quid was from the USA, and the delivery would have been somewhere in the region of 20 quid. So that delivers £110 for a dripping atomizer. And people wonder why I can't stand this elitist stuff, because look at the state of it. It really is shit. It really is. £110 for a fucking atomizer. But that's just my opinion. You know, some out there may be worth £110, but for me, no dripper is. None, because they're simple. And the machine quality that goes into them can be spectacular, but the material parts, it's just not £110 to me. It really isn't. But for 25 quid, bite your arm off for it. It's a lovely little dripper. Go ahead and give Grant a tap up if you're after one. I will link his eBay site just under here. And also he's available through my Facebook group, which is also under here. You know, and the name of his eBay will be up here as well if you want to just search the storefront or whatever. But check him out. He does great prices. You order from him, he spanks it in the post the same day as long as he's got time. Stand-up bloke, really is. Other than that, guys, thank you Big G for giving me this to have a play with, and thank you guys for watching. I shall see you soon.